And you've just heard The Rain Doesn't Only Fall on You from Broken Chanter, taken from the new album Chorus of Doubt, which comes out on April the 5th with Chemical Underground Records. And I'm delighted to be joined by Broken Chanter's David MacGregor now. Hello, David.
Hello, how are you getting on? Thanks for having me.
I'm good. Well, what can you tell us about the new album?
So Chorus of Doubt is out on the 5th. And we've got a bunch of shows after that in Scotland and England. So it's my third record is Broken Chanter, which is me. It's a stage name. I don't think I'm an egomaniac. It's more just because David MacGregor's not really thrilling. If you saw that in a poster, Broken Chanter allows a bit more intrigue. So it's me and a bunch of very talented musicians on the record. It's Charlotte Printer on bass and vocals, Martin Johnson on drums, Bart Owl on guitar and vocals, and Gav Prentice also comes in to absolutely shred a solo on the last song of the album, because I don't really do guitar solos and it required a discordant mental one, so we've got someone else to do it who's better at the guitar than me. That's the that's the beauty of like having, a solo thing. You can work with people who are much more talented than you, and then you can only be lifted upwards. So yeah, we recorded it over the summer months last year at CamGlen with Paul Savage in the production hot seat. Like, we worked together on the previous record, Catastrophe Hits, and we kind of got into a really good working relationship, and both of us were excited to do another record. So yeah, no, I'm absolutely delighted with it.
The band, it was interesting how you've done that, because it's almost like these are all musicians that people may know from other projects and bands and stuff like that. So is that another one of the things you can put together, kind of supergroup, if you like? You can pick pals and musicians that you admire, as long as they agree to work with you, which they have.
No, I'm very fortunate that they have agreed to work. I mean, like, they're all really talented people, and they're all someone that I'd happily be trapped in a van with. So that's the two criteria. I'm not sure which is the most important criterion, but we have Charlotte, who has been in the live band for the last record as well, and is a very good friend. We have the M6 test. So it's, if you have just come off the back of, say, around 2 weeks of shows, either in the UK and Europe, and you're on that last bit of the M6 where you think you're further up the road than you are, closer to a shower in your own bed than you are, and if you can think that person, the new person in the band, will not absolutely rip your knitting by talking too much or having no patter whatsoever at that point, because there is a point at Lancaster services where you think that you've passed Lancaster, but then you see that big horrible brutalist UFO service station with the concrete tractor beam, and you're slapped into the reality that you have at least 2.5 hours to go. So that's
I don't even enjoy driving that bit myself, so to do it with other people in the vehicle, it must be a test.
Aye, so if you think that you're not going to end up in some kind of rage-induced incident because of the person, then yeah, that's the other criterion. And
you talked about the live band as well, and the people that are playing on the album. Is that the live band that you go? Because I've seen you play live quite a few times, and you do solo shows. You do maybe 2 or 3 a year, and then you've also done full band. Another thing that appeals to you being Broken Chanter is that it's variable in that way.
Yeah. So after Kid Canaveral, we called it a day. One of the things that was important to me was that I'd never have to turn down a gig that I wanted to play. And I would love to have a set band, so don't get me wrong, and that would be amazing. But with doing stuff under the name Broken Chanter, it means can be anything from me on my own up to like a 6-piece band that we've done in the past. And yeah, and I can get into there's kind of the boring musical admin side, but also the distressing modern musical reality as well. As the fact is, you know, I do all right, and I'm very privileged that enough people buy my records and come to my shows that I can do another record after that. Or certainly that's the case at the moment. Hopefully it'll be following this one as well. But I can't offer musicians the same length of touring as other artists. And then, you know, wage security comes into that. So while I have pals that I love playing with, I can't offer them as long stints. So if they get offered something else, obviously they're going to go with my blessing to have those wages for 3, 6, 9 months of big mad tours. So that's another reason why it's interchangeable. Because luckily I've got quite a lot of people who are sound and also, you know, love playing. So I'm very fortunate in that. But yeah, it's just partially down to the fact that these people are exceptionally talented, and partially down to the fact that I can't, you know, say, yeah, sure, I'm gonna go on tour for 12 months and don't worry about it. You'll get wages for 12 months. So that's kind of the ins and outs.
We've just heard the second single from the album, and we'll hear what was the first one later on. And I was thinking, how do you choose which tracks you're going to put out?
Normally there's obvious singles that you kind of agree on with a label. And then there's some that you have to make a case for, or just take other people's judgment on. Like there has been singles in the past that I've been uncomfortable with, but have done well. There are singles that I've thought, like, that's a really obvious single that have not done so well. So it's kind of a collaborative approach. You make your case. I think, yeah, I think we're in broad agreement about the singles for this record.
And to follow on from that, when you're track listing an album as well, is that is the similar kind of conversations go on?
Well, you know, working with Chemical is very nice in general, but also they don't tend to try and twist your arm about anything. And I went to them with a track listing for the record, and they were like, "That's okay, that's good." But Paul was like, "Well, I think we should change the mix of this one if it's going to go at that point in the record slightly." So there was a couple of songs that when I was like, "I think this is the way the record flows best," we went back in the final week just to make a couple of tweaks to mixes. Because obviously, you know, it's Paul's production work and he has to be happy with it as well, as I have to be happy with it. So yeah, you have the conversation, and then I made the case for the track listing in the order, and then we made a couple of wee tweaks to the mixes just to make it flow as a record and have the right kind of impact at that point.
Because there are different kind of styles of music on there, well, still recognisably being you. You know, I'm thinking of the difference between, I mean, would you call kind of instrumental, almost ambient? There's a track that's you know, got other, I can't remember the name of it now, I apologise, but there's
right.
And then you've got a kind of more pop, gloom bop, which I know is one of my favourite tracks on the album, you know, as a kind of more upbeat thing. So you really, is that all under consideration, you know?
Absolutely, yeah. So the first 3 songs are quite full on. So you've got, don't you think that something needs to be done? You've got to stop worrying all the time, and then the rain doesn't only fall on you. And then you kind of come to this point of like you're at this kind of pop maximalism way. The end of the rain doesn't only fall on you. So then you can't keep going at that pace. You know, it's exhausting to listen to, irrespective if you're loving the tracks. So that's why the first instrumental follows that Costner interjection. It's a kind of jarring, delayed, almost, well, it's got some dub bass on it as well to kind of really make, I guess it's to make the listener focus again as well, because you can get kind of, if you're just sailing along in a nice kind of pop beat, then it's to bring you back into it, and it's not to confound anyone, but it's just you're wanting to mess around with a bunch of different sounds, textures, and approaches to writing over the course of an album, because you don't want it to be just like a homogenous clump of music.
Yeah.
So it's really to offer something unexpected and to bring you back into the record if you were just beginning to, think, oh, this is another chorus. I'm just gonna let this wash over me. Not that you would, because it's a great chorus before it. Sorry, that was very arrogant. But yeah,
So it's
similar.
almost like a reset.
Yeah.
And because I was thinking about this, I always think that you are a storyteller in your songs. There's often, that's going through. And I wonder if, as an album, you're almost telling a story through it with different, moods and thoughts and all of those things that you would get.
Well, excuse me. The kind of themes running through the record are, the title comes from the last song, and it's from a line in the last song. A chorus of doubt is singing its greatest hits, and it's the themes that link the song, the album together are despair and finding hope through a collective action that we're all capable of engaging with, and acts of positive change on a micro and a macro scale, on your own and with others. It's a much more direct record than the first two Broken Chanter ones. I don't think I'm mincing words on it, but I think we managed to avoid being too preachy as well. The songs are there to try and, like, I was feeling particularly pessimistic last year about the state of everything, and one of my best mates got me tickets for my birthday to see Billy Bragg, so Kate Lasdiffe, Kid Canaveral, so we went along, and it was a really uplifting experience to be in a room with all those people who obviously, loved his music, but shared his politics as well. And I think just having him, up there and saying, music's not going to change the world, but the fact that we're all here in this room together, it shows that enough of us care about something to do something about it. And I think that's something I was trying to balance with this record. It's like everything is feeling pretty dreadful at the moment. I think if you are a compassionate person, somebody who cares about those around them and the state of things, and you need to balance that despair with but there's something you can do about it. It's not
That's interesting because, as you know, Bragg's been singing about these things certainly since I was a teenager and still continues, but with hope. There's always hope in his music as well.
Right. It was a nice moment because we'd finished the record and it was off to get pressed. And I think just there was the churn of the news cycle that that part of the year. I just really needed that, and I think hope is essential. And I think that we're not doomed, but we're in a very bad spot.
That's a
The
pretty good
species.
summary.
Yeah.
In terms of songwriters, are there others that really influence you that you kind of think about or have influenced you in the past?
I like, music-wise, I like guitarists who get to the point. Now, like Robert Smith for The Cure, is a guitarist who does not waste notes on whittling. that's yeah, there's something you can be very kind of melodic, and I enjoy the, not to get too technical, but I enjoy the kind of the Celtic drone that he employs in a lot of the songs that the Cure do. I think that's quite, it's a nice device for making something nice and melodic, and but also not saccharine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always find that when I get asked about like influences and stuff, I kind of feel a bit oblivious. And then other people say, "Oh, that song sounds like that." And I think when Kid Canaveral like did their first record, people were like, "Oh, that sounds like the Go-Betweens," and that first record was out in 2010.
Hmm.
Um, I was young and naive, and Spotify didn't exist, which was a very good thing. So I hadn't actually heard the Go-Betweens, and then I listened to it and I was like, "Oh well, we've managed to."
You sound like a band I'd never heard
Yeah,
of.
we've managed to we must have had like the same influences. But I think for this record, certainly it was less. I wanted it to be music that would the music would kind of agitate your body, as the lyrics would maybe poke at your brain. So I was listening to like Bush Tetras, ESG, Delta 5, um, like Wire, Gang of Four,
Yeah.
um, things like that to be less gentle. I think the second record was very nice,
Hmm.
and I wanted this one to agitate the listener a bit more. I think it's
Yeah.
still a pop record, but I think it's an abrasive pop record.
There's some spikiness there, which
Mm.
maybe, comes through even on, subsequent listens. You go, okay,
Mm.
there's things going on here.
Yeah, the comfort should be in the message. The comfort shouldn't be in the listening of this one.
Yeah. And you released it on Chemical.
Mm.
Is that a big move for you in terms of moving to that? Or because you'd already worked with Paul Savage, was it just a kind of obvious thing to do?
Um, it's uh, it's really exciting. I grew up with Chemicals, earlier releases, and I'm happy to say that, like, Paul and Emma and Stuart are pals, and like there's a lot of things that go into thinking about whether or not to release a record for a label. And I think that, having worked on the last one, they liked the last one, and then but it was already promised another label. And with this one, they were keen to hear the final thing and then make a decision, because in this landscape of music being seen as a commodity like water, you turn it on and it's just there. You need to be confident in it. So I was very happy that they felt confident in the record to release it. When I was a teenager, growing up in Glasgow, like in the late 90s, early 90s, I it was so exciting having this label, that everyone was going, "This label's brilliant."
Yeah.
The UK press, and it was nice to see people who are just down the road putting out incredible records, making great music themselves, and sticking two fingers up to London, going,
Yeah.
"Well, we're all moving to London to make it in the music industry." And then Chemical Underground reached, the world,
Yeah.
um, Glasgow, and I remember thinking, I don't know, 16 or something, and can't remember which character it was, but I was watching Neighbours after school, and one of the teenagers comes in and is going, "You got the new Mogwai record?" I did that, like, it was like that Leonardo DiCaprio meme when I was pointing at the telly, going, "Wait a minute."
I like punch in the air.
It's like, we just bought that in Dundas Street. So, aye, no, I mean, I don't want to sound too corny, but I mean, it's kind of teenage wish fulfillment to have a record coming out in Chemical. Like,
Yeah.
it's a label that I've got the highest respect for, and the people that run it are absolute gems. So yeah, it's been great working with Paul, Emma, Andrew as well. Think want to give Andrew a shout out, because not being in Delgado's, he's not been photographed as much, but he's been working away like at Chemical behind the scenes all this time, and he's an absolute diamond. So yeah, they're a great bunch, and it's really lovely that they've put their faith in this record and in me.
And are there plans to tour the album? I mean, we mentioned touring earlier on and maybe how that's changed and gets more difficult, but do you have plans to do that?
Yeah, so the record's out on the 5th, and the first show for the tour is the 11th of April in Edinburgh at Summer Hall. The next night we're in Aberdeen at Tunnels. The following night we're in Dundee on the 13th at Beat Generator. And then the following Saturday we're in Glasgow at Stereo. So that's everyone can have their record store day fun, and then come down to Stereo with an intention to buy some more records. And to enjoy a night of exciting and entertaining music. We're off on tour in England as well in May. So there's Gateshead, Coventry, Sheffield, London, Oxford, Cambridge, and Rainham. I hope I've not missed one there, but yeah. And then we'll be on tour again in the autumn and the winter. Yeah, and it's been very difficult, obviously, the past few years. The first Broken Chanter record came out, I think 5 months before the pandemic. Yeah, I always feel bad saying that was very difficult, because clearly that is quite far down the list of bad things to happen in 2020. This the first record campaign being truncated, but it's, you don't want to jinx it, but it would be nice to think that there won't be any viral impediment to doing these shows.
You would be incredibly unlucky if that got knocked up again.
Look, I could give you a long list of seemingly improbable misfortune of this happened over 13 years, no, 14 years of touring.
That's that chorus of doubt again, David. Coming.
Yeah.
David, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me. It's always a pleasure.
No, thank you so much for having me. Yeah, no, that was lovely. It's dawned on me that it's less than a month till the record comes out now, and when people are listening to it, it'll be mere days.
Mere days. And this is Broken Chanter, and you've got to stop worrying all the time.